Hello, this is Matthew First, an instructor here at the Computer Workshop. And in this video, what I'm going to talk about is in Python, what the difference is between built-in functions and the standard library. Both built-ins and standard library are shipped when you install the Python interpreter on the operating system of your choice. If you need information on how to get that installed, please see our earlier video, which discusses how to get Python installed. But once you do that base install, you do have access to the built-ins and the standard library. The difference between a built-in and a standard library is with built-in, these functions are provided as part of the interpreter, and you don't need to do anything additionally to gain access to them. So, like if I wanted to print something out to a terminal prompt, I could use the print command. Most of these other methods are dealing with gaining access potentially to directory information or doing a lot of the data type conversions, which for most of your applications, you're probably going to need access to those. So with the built-in functions, when you install and start the interpreter loads access to all these functions and they're just given to you. With the standard library, these are additional modules. So Python is a modular programming language. When you start the interpreter, it's only going to load the built-ins, and those are probably things that you're going to need for every one of your applications that you're going to build or scripts that you're going to build. With the standard library, these are additional modules that a lot of programmers are probably going to need access to these, but not all of your scripts or applications may make use of these. So, what it allows us to do is if we need to use this type of functionality, we can go into our code, make the interpreter aware, hey, we need access to it. It will then load that rather than always loading it. There's over 200 different objects or functions that are available in standard library categories. And this is a partial list of some of the things that we can get from the standard library. There's functional programming modules when you need to go out and access file and directory information. There's a standard library to do that. If we need to access networking protocols like HTTP, SMTP, there's a module that will provide that. Again, a lot of your scripts may need that functionality, again, depending on what you're doing, but then there are also other scripts that may not need that type of functionality. So, with us being able to use this in a modular way, we only load the stuff that's needed to get our job done, and we're not cluttering up memory of the interpreter with stuff that we may not use. So, how does this look? So, if you need additional information, if you go out to docs.python.org/3 library /index.html, this is the Python .org documentation for the language, and this URL will get you into the documentation on the built-ins and the standard libraries. So it'll give you links to all of the different functions, all of the different standard libraries that are available to you, and gives you access to how to use those functions. So how does this work in practice? Well, if I switch over here to my Visual Studio Code, and I've got a demo.py script file already created. So if I want to use something that is already in the standard or that's already in the built-in, all I need to do is provide the name of the function that I want to call to. So in this case, it's just print. So print's one of the built-ins. And if I type in hello world here, and then we click on run, code runs perfectly fine. We get hello world reflected back to the screen. So let me just clear my screen here again and then rerun this. And you'll see that we have hello world appearing. And all we need to do is make a call to the function to let it know what we want. Well, one of the standard libraries gives us access to the operating system. So if we look at the documentation, there is an operating system module, and it has a method get logon or get login. And if I spell this correctly, it works better. So if I use os.getLogon or get login here, if I try to run this, I'm going to get an error message saying that OS is not defined, that method get logon or get login. It doesn't understand that it's there because it's not part of the built-in. The interpreter doesn't know that it's there. So how we make the interpreter aware of other modules is we use a keyword called import. So what import's going to do is it's going to import the module that we specify. So if I do an import OS here, what this will do is this will go out and we now have access to this standard library object of OS. I can then come out here and I'm just going to create a variable called user, set it equal to os.getLogin. And once I do that, and again, with that importation, if you're using an IDE that understands the language, when I now use this dot notation, we're going to get the IntelliSense. It understands what's connected with OS. And I can now go out and do the, again, if I spell things correctly, if I use a get logon or get login, I can now print my variable, and what it's going to reflect back to the screen is who I'm currently logged on to this computer with. So if I do print my user variable now and run this, you'll now see that it reflects back that I'm logged on as my admin account. So what we looked at in this video is just the difference between built-in and standard library in Python. Again, built-ins are part of the interpreter. You don't need to do anything to make them aware that it's there. With the standard library, you'll have to use the import command to make it available to the interpreter. And then once you have access to that, you can then go out and start using that. Hopefully this video was informative. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do have videos on programming as you see from this video, but we also have videos dealing with Office products and a lot of other topics that may be of interest to you. Again, thanks for your time.